And now, America's Midweek Review.
Whenever dark is falling, you know the spirit of the party starts to come alive until the day is dawning.
Welcome to another edition of the Midweek Review. And I am your host, Yanni, and glad to have you guys here with me. Excited on a September 9th, 2020. Fired up and ready to go with both barrels fully loaded and ready to explode. So I hope you guys have been having a great week this week so far. Moving around in the interior of the United States of America, which I still believe is the greatest country on the planet, hands down. We have everything, guys. I mean, we have, if you want shopping, also like that. Oh, but anyways, before we move on, you can also find other episodes of this show on SoundCloud as well, platform at The American's Voice and Yanni. Go catch those over at SoundCloud for those who like that platform as well. That's the beautiful thing about America. In this country, the land of the free, home of the brave. Some people used to say, land of the free, home of the, they changed the slogan, right? And these are the disgruntled black people out there. But, lots of fun. To all my brothers and sisters out there that are roaming around. But they say, land of the free, home of the slave. I'm like, well, how are you a free and a slave at the same time? Anyways, just a thought. But you guys are definitely tuned into the right place. But want to get off into the news because Twitter explodes again. Over at thehill.com, it says, Twitter explodes over Trump's Nobel Peace Prize nomination. This is going to be glorious. Guys, it is about time. I mean, if you look from the straight down the center of the road and you're looking at Obama, you're looking at Trump, Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize just for being there. I think Ben Shapiro said just for him breathing, which is fantastic if you think about it, because, the first black president. I don't get hung up on all that stuff like that. We want to shoot it straight to the American people. But President Trump's Nobel Peace Prize nomination created a shockwave on social media, with conservatives hailing and the liberals railing. Ooh, that rhymed. Against it on Wednesday morning. Trump was nominated by the Norwegian parliament. Oh, and the beautiful thing about this, because you can tell that the news is these pundits and robots, activists, you look at them and you hear what they say when they're talking about the news, and the ones that are more accurate, they're kind of right leaning a little bit, but they tell the truth. The other ones, they skew it to the hilt, and I'm going to show you how they change and kind of twist the story from two points of view when it comes to looking at the Nobel Peace Prize and if Trump should have one, why it should have one, why it's taken so long, looking at the economy and all the things he's done. If you think about it, the economy is coming back pretty strong considering COVID. We still have these Democratic mayors in these cities and states that are trying to lock everyone down with mask mandates and things like that. But we're still moving forward as an America. And so we're excited to know that, hey, we're still thriving and we're still growing. And the GDP is going to be right where it needs to be soon as Trump gets elected again. So great times here in the US of A. But it goes on and says that Trump was nominated by the Norwegian parliament member Christian Tybring-Gjedde, who also serves as a chairman to the Norwegian delegation to NATO's Parliament Assembly. Tybring-Gjedde cited that the president's role in brokering the landmark normalization deal between Israel and the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, during the interview on Fox News Wednesday morning. For his merit, I think he has done more trying to create peace between nations than most other Peace Prize nominees, Tybring-Gjedde said, referring to Trump. Guys, the crap is hitting the fan, and this is exciting because when it's normally crap for the Democrats, it's always ice cream and, sprinkles for Republicans. So that's something to think about on that one right there. Also, Ben Shapiro chimed in. Fact, Trump deserves the Nobel far more than Obama did, who won one for the great accomplishment of being a breathing human. Wow. Talking about a 1-2 punch, right? 1-2 right to the kisser. Back in the day of those old shows, they used to say, I'm going to give you one right in the kisser, right in the kisser. Anyways, but moving on. The Twitter feed is peppered with opinions from both sides. And it is hilarious as you sit and you read from some people, celebrities, sports stars. I'm sure it's a lot of on the thread here on the Hill. One of them said Sal Rizzo, the nomination of far-right Norwegian lawmaker named Christian Tybring-Gjedde, previously nominated Mr. Trump for the award in 2018 for his attempts to solve the North Korean nuclear tension. So look how he works that. He says the far right. So he's painting the picture that this guy's on the far right. So obviously he's a nut job or whatever it may be. So the reason why he's nominated Trump, because there's no one that will remotely agree with him, right? Think about that. Think about that right there. The next one. Matt Couch, or Couch. You know, I used to live in Portland, and in downtown they had a street, and it was spelled C-O-U-H. And I remember going down there and at the street, the way that it's spelled, I said, okay, Couch Street. And you say to a person that's important, you say, help me find Couch Street. And they say, what's Couch Street? Oh, Cooch. You mean Cooch. And it would always irritate me because when I would go downtown to the city or, downtown in Portland, I would see the street and just, it's couch. That looks like couch to me. Anyways, that is what you call a rabbit hole. Moving on. But Matt Couch said, can you imagine the riots and temper tantrums from the leftist mobs when President Trump is reelected and he wins the Nobel Peace Prize in the same year? This right here seems like a very, very well-rounded statement. It's kind of both sides. Well, President Trump gets reelected, and it's good news. Like we want to bring to everyone out there. Good, great, accurate news. And one more. Martin McLaughlin. He says right here, the particular strain of clickbait will be prominent today, and it is best ignored. Anyone can receive a nomination for the Nobel Prize, and Trump came from the far right, the anti-immigration Norwegian parliamentary militarian who also nominated Trump in 2018. Like repeating words like, what do they call those guys? Were they over lemmings following in word only? But it's amazing if you look at the contrast. But that is America nowadays. Over at the Federalist, Trump nominated for Nobel Peace Prize for actually doing something. Once again, a sitting president of the United States has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, just like Obama. But unlike last time when President Barack Obama received the honor, current President Donald Trump has been nominated for an actual achievement. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, you hear the applause and all the roaring excitement and cheering out there. No, yeah, absolutely, if they're Trump voters. But I believe there is a level of the American people out there that want to cheer for the president, but they feel if they do, they'll get punched in the face. Moving on. Not just for being popular in Europe and a nifty public speaker, last month Trump's administration pulled off a massive deal between Israel and United Arab Emirates, in which the latter recognized the former, and the commercial air flights between the two began for the first time ever. Back in 2009, Barack Obama was not only nominated, but received the Nobel Peace Prize. He had been president for 10 months when he was announced, and it was apparently owning him for fostering a new climate and international relations, whatever that meant. Me even reading that doesn't make sense. In fact, we're not going to even repeat it. In fact, as almost everyone knew, that as a quick to point out, Barack Obama had achieved approximately nothing in foreign policy. And at that point, people started scratching their heads. And in his 8 years that followed, he failed to usher any change in the Middle East even remotely, as significantly as Trump's recent deal was a positive change anyways. If you think about it, when Trump came into office, this is something everyone should think about as they wake up in the morning and they're yawning, thinking about a cup of coffee. Do I want Starbucks? Do I want Tully's? We have just options out here. Think about if you want some lunch. Do I want Burger King? Okay, which isn't the greatest burger in the world, which I think the Impossible Whopper is fantastic. Add some extra ketchup on there. I love it. But anyways, he did nothing. Trump did something. But at that time, ISIS was running rapid. They were like cockroaches all over the Middle East, popping their little heads up everywhere, trying to do damage to human life. Just horrible if you think about it. So Trump's effort was led by Jared Kushner, his son-in-law. But for many, the butt of many jokes, everyone laughs at Kushner all the time. Oh, look at him, whatever. Putting Kushner in charge of such a delicate, complicated, and an important task was seen as incompetent, as a nepotism. But guys, as it worked out, go over and check out the article over the Federalist. It is amazing that, you have two different perspectives. But Trump actually did something for the American people. And if you're rooting for this country, it is exciting to be excited about the direction and where we're going. We're going to bust the seams and we're going to be the greatest ever again. So I look at this, everyone's hair is on fire. I mean, everyone, because Trump downplayed, talked about the COVID-19 response when it erupted back in February. I got an article from the Business Insider. I've been looking around at a lot of people's perspectives, and I want everyone's perspective. Don't want to go too liberal, but want to make sure I can understand as we're communicating the news that everyone's able to assimilate it, take it in, and absorb it and use it to their advantage. But I heard someone say today, this is coming up right now, and I was thinking about what the Democrats have done to get to this point right now. If you think about how this whole COVID response, what someone might have said or someone downplayed something. Here's the problem that I have with that. Even if it's valid or not, I heard the president's response today, and I think it was valid and it was calm and measured. You do not want to stir a beehive or a wasp nest. If you have a pandemic or a problem, what you don't want to do is have the American people in a panic. That displays leadership. That displays focus. Well, he wants to calm it down. He's trying to hide it. Hide what? There is nothing to hide. And if you have confidence in yourself and belief in America, you will move in the direction of your belief. That means hope. That means change, not Obama. That means the right change, and you're moving forward, excited about your life and our country. Insider.com. 25 times Trump's downplayed the COVID-19 public response after telling Bob Woodward on tape it was more deadly than a strenuous flu. President Donald Trump, in an early February interview, told the veteran, and this is crazy, you guys let this sink into your cerebellum as the music sinks in. Think about this for a second. We're talking about stuff that happened in February. How many of you guys are walking around out there thinking about, as you walk out your door, okay, I just have to think about what I was thinking about in February. Oh, February 10th, I went shopping I had to go get some eggs and butter. No, you don't think about that kind of stuff. But if it's anything to make the other opponent look bad, they're after it. But it says, he had told the veteran reporter Bob Woodward that the COVID-19 was deadlier than the worst flu viruses. At the same time, Trump downplayed the threat of COVID-19 publicly. At least 190,000 people have died from the novel coronavirus in the U.S. But the media that has painted this picture, and if you look at CNN and the other networks, they're painting this picture of COVID-19 like it is the end of the world for everyone who gets it, which probably a high percentage of the American people of the world, for that matter, who have never been tested, probably have the antibodies in their system. Well, Vice President Biden sees things a little bit differently. Today, he's saying that, Trump didn't take it seriously. It seems like he took it seriously February 7th, 2020. We have the tape. We're going to roll it right now because you got to put it to bed, all the stuff right before an election. Straw men. That's exactly what they do. They are the master of straw men. I guarantee you go in the backyard of their homes or in their garages and they have scarecrows everywhere with unlimited straw. Let's play cut number 1, please.
And so what was President Xi saying yesterday?
Well, we were talking mostly about the virus, and I think he's going to have it in good shape, but, it's a very tricky situation.
Indeed
it goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. The touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air. That's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. People don't realize we lose 25,000, 30,000 people a year here. Who would ever think that, right?
I know.
It's pretty amazing. And then I say, well, is that the same thing? This is more deadly. This is 5 per... this is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%. So this is deadly stuff.
This is deadly stuff. Did he sound like he was joking? Did he sound like he didn't have seriousness in his voice and the way he communicated the message? He sounded very serious to me. And I think if you look at the way and judge what he said, you would think the same thing too. But we're going to cap on Joe Biden for trying to cap on the president because the same thing the president did, Joe Biden did the same thing. Plagiarism Joe. Whatever the president does, he follows suit like a faithful lemming, falling off the cliff to his demise. That's the Joe Biden you guys know and love. Yeah, Lunch Bucket Joe. He is a blue-collar worker, sure. You want me to believe that? I have a bridge I can sell you that is sitting along that gold-filled gold mine that I have no interest in anymore. Petty peasants. But when we get back, we're going to dissect Mr. Joe Biden on the other side of the midweek review.
But I won't resort to calling names today. When it comes to fighting the libs, he's in the game 100%.
But these people are crazy.
Shooting it straight to the Americans.
100% responsibility, 100% accountability. How come evil is able to stand? Media's programming you to believe?
A conservative, unhinged.
It's all about race relations and, we gotta have this conversation. We don't have to have this conversation.
The killer of groupthink, the American's voice, in Yanni, Sundays at 10 a.m. Don't miss it.
Vice President, we took on the virus that was threatening all of Africa and the rest of the world, and we set up a mechanism that worked. But I want to take a moment to say it's not a time to panic about coronavirus, but coronavirus is a serious public health challenge.
The same exact thing, almost verbatim, what the president said. That was February 28th, 2020. Sean Hannity aired archival footage on Fox News of Biden speaking to supporters in Sumter, South Carolina on February 28th, one day before Biden won the state's primary, securing his first victory in the 3 presidential campaigns and creating a path to the nomination. Ho, 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 jingle bells. These guys are full of it. You want to just play that again and again, almost like the Romulans or the Klingons when they catch you in something. Again, they you know they be talking, right? Over and over again. Let's play that again.
When we were as president and vice president, we took on the virus that was threatening all of Africa and the rest of the world, and we set up a mechanism that worked. But I want to take a moment to say it's not a time to panic about coronavirus, but coronavirus is a serious public health challenge.
No time to panic, but a serious health challenge. No time to panic. No time to panic. You're being painted in the corner with these words, tormenting you day in and day out.
It's not a time to panic. 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 It's not a time to panic.
Joe Biden's melodious voice rocking you to sleep every single night, and you're calm, and there's no time to panic. But why is the president getting beat up in the media? Because the media is corrupt for the most part, and they don't want to give you the straight news. And you see the blatant double standard as big as those big fish eyes looking at you. You see the fish out there that has the real big old eyes, those goldfish, they look at you, you see one eye just staring at you, just rolling around in obscurity. It's amazing. Just amazing. But in other news, we want to pray for California. The wildfires are devastating them out there. A record 2.5 million acres have burned in California, while the entire community in Oregon and Washington were largely wiped out. I'm looking at a picture here, and it's so sad. You have your life, your history, your memories, the things that are sentimental to you. They're burned up in ashes and flames. It said Royce Horror sorted through the remains of his home in Malden, Washington on Wednesday. A fire consumed most of the town, including its post office, library, and fire station. You know, you wake up in the morning, it's like, I feel like I want to read a book today. You go down the street, the library is gone. Straight gone. Post office. If you can't stand the post office, you go, this always takes them forever. Well, there you go. The post office is gone. But no, seriously, pray for the people out there that lost everything. That is absolutely horrible. Malden, Washington, the wildfire arrived with such ferocity that the deputies drove through the streets of the Malden, Washington, screaming for people to leave. By the time the blaze passed, not even the fire station was spared. The town's only fire truck was still trapped inside, turned into an ashen hulk. The devastation in Washington state was repeated up and down and parched the West Coast on Wednesday as the wildfire season unraveled destruction and continued to spread, destroying not only much of Malden, but several other communities in the Northwest, while belching enough smoke to blot out the sun in San Francisco, and at least 7 people were killed in recent blazes. Now, I remember a few days ago we were driving and my wife came outside. Well, we were in the house, first of all. We weren't driving. We were driving in the house. Imagine that. Oh, watch the lamp over there, honey. Watch out for the lamp. Anyways, we come outside and my daughter's like, it's ugly out here. My wife's like, it's ugly. And they're thinking it was a storm or something like that. And I told her, I said, no, there's a fire. Well, I told her as she left, they went to the store. Then I called her. I said, oh, it's a fire. That's what's going on. You can see the sun. Just beautiful. Did some videoing of that, but that was fantastic. Anyway, so that's something to look for and pray for those people, because I guarantee you losing your house and everything is absolutely horrible. So we want to make sure that we want to support all our brothers and sisters in the United States of America and keep them safe in prayer and such. But back on Joe Biden, he's out of the basement. He makes his cameo appearance today. I can't remember where I was, but there was a TV on, and when you're sitting there, the volume is very, very low. The volume is low. You're looking and you're trying to read the lips of the person on the television. That's what you're thinking. What is he saying? And you making up words. He be talking about peace, and you be like, yeah, man. When I get done, I'm gonna get a sandwich. Man, I'm gonna whip you in Madden tonight. People still play Madden? They still play Madden? I don't know. Madden. It used to be a hot game, but Joe Biden, strong guy. He makes his cameo appearance today. I see him, and he's fresh out the basement. He's ready, he's poised, he's focused. He comes out, and the first thing he says, since I'm social distancing, it's obvious. I can't stand that word. That word irritates me. It becomes a form of diaper rash to me and irritation. I think I'm needing some prescription strength baby gold bond medicated powder, But anyways, but like a broken record, here we go again. Just like some time ago. Remember Joe Biden? Remember the broken record comment he made? He said, "Be sure at night, make sure the children are listening to the record player." Joe, the last time I checked in history with that lesson, the phonograph the standard phonograph was created about 1880s, 87, 77, somewhere in there. By 1997, where the big hair was pretty much still in, like Peg from Married with Children, the record players were phasing out everywhere. The invention of a CD. Anyways, that's a little history for you. But my first observation is, the thing says on its front of it, Buy American. Trump has been saying that for a long time. Buy American, buy American, buy American. As I'm looking at that, I'm like, wow, that sounds familiar to me. That's what I'm thinking. When he goes off, he goes off and he starts talking about the promises that Trump didn't make. And I'm looking at the promises. I'm counting in my hand. So picture me, there's a tally machine, and I'm counting up Trump's promises that he made from the campaign trail. And I'm astonished and amazed that Trump is keeping his promises. Everybody's amazed. Even the leftists, they're going to say, well, you got to give it to Trump. You got to give it to him. He keeps his promises. Yes, he does. And if he doesn't, he fights really, really hard. That's why there's a wall being built on the southern border. Think about that, too. Then he starts the bashing. That's their go-to card. And I mean, they've hit rock bottom if you look at it like that. They really have. I want you to understand, the campaign season to me is kind of like when your little kitty Pebbles goes through that heat thing, If they get the accent all funny, yeah, that's Biden and Harris, their campaign. When all else fails, let's not talk about policy. Let's not talk about what's important to the American people. Let's not talk about the growing threat that China poses to America and to the rest of the world. No addressing the riots, taking responsibility and being complacent and sitting there and sitting by while the cities crumble. No denouncing of the violence. So if people want to throw stones, you have to think about it. Wait a minute, I can live in a glass house. Most of these Democratic people, they live in glass houses. And if you're a Republican and you live in a glass house too, I will call you out to the carpet as well. Stand right there on the carpet. Yes, on the carpet. Over on the Insider, Mike Tyson, some sports news for you guys. Mike Tyson posted a fresh footage of his ferocious training routine days after saying that filming his first comeback video left him crying in the bed for a week. Now, if you think about Mike Tyson, and I'm so excited to hear about this here. Mike Tyson, to me, I was telling my wife, he is like the Tiger Woods of boxing. He is like 89 years old and some change. And he is out there in the ring looking good and in great shape. And I want him, be honest with you, I like Roy Jones. I'm a real fan of Roy Jones. You know how, does that laying back, Roy Jones makes the opponent think that he is hurt. And then he comes in for the attack or, toying with him. And two completely different fighting styles. Mike Tyson will take your head off and make some filet mignon right there on a skewer with fire on the top of your neck with no head there. It's just completely gone, and just go in and for the kill. And Roy Jones will just pick you apart by 1,000 cuts. It's just amazing. And I'm excited for the exhibition fight, which is going to be November 28th. But it says that Mike Tyson channeled his inner younger self, in his latest training video, wearing a t-shirt with photos of himself in his heyday. Those t-shirts are so cool. I remember going to seeing those fights. Wish I had an opportunity to go to the fights, but they were always booked out and sold out. Mike Tyson is a hot ticket item even to this day. And if you've never seen him do stand-up comedy, he is hilarious. Absolutely funny. The shirt features 3 pictures of Tyson from different stages of his career. The 54-year-old is set to begin his next chapter of his career on November 28th when he takes on the veteran Roy Jones Jr. in an exhibition match in California. Last week, Tyson said in his training video released earlier this year, he was left in so much pain that he was in a bed for a week. And I believe how Tyson goes hard, and we should go hard for the United States of America. That's what I believe. Going hard. So kudos to Tyson. Unlike the NBA and all those other people that are trying to use social justice as those warrior acts to keep us in a bind and to keep us divided in this country. Not good stuff. But over at the Federalist, though, here's another bit of news here. The Trump-appointed judge halts Idaho ban on men competing in women's sports. It is time for them to break all this garbage up. This is absolutely garbage. Your daughter is 4'1". Oh, that's really short. She's 5'1". And she's competing with someone who has the muscle mass, the wingspan, and he's about 5'9", 5'10", 6 feet, physically stronger. My daughter's probably most likely mentally stronger. But anyways, they're competing physically. And these women are getting their hats handed to them. These little girls are getting their hats handed to them. So this is good stuff. A Trump-appointed federal judge temporarily blocked the Idaho law Monday, barring transgender women from competing in sports. Now, if you want to be transgender, that's your thing. That's absolutely fine. We practice these things freely in the United States of America, but I don't believe it belongs in the sports. In school sports, and required testing for athletes whose gender was in doubt. The Idaho Chief Judge David Nye ruled that the lawsuit filed by the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, which provided the injunction allowing the transgender athletes to compete in the gender category of their choosing this fall, was likely to succeed. The judge also ruled that the state had no provided sufficient reasons for the law to be necessary. The court recognized that in this decision, it is likely to be controversial, Nye wrote Monday, while the citizens of Idaho are likely to either vehemently oppose or fervently support the act. The Constitution must always prevail, and that is so true. But these men should not be competing with these young women. Now, if it's a sport, and we know that who you are is who you are. Now, if you say your name is Becky, and you have an Adam's apple, and it's like bigger than a stork, I'm going to be a little curious. So that's something to think about and check out over at the Federalist. Good stuff. But as I survey the landscape, which I call the United States of America, I think about this stuff every single week. And it's always awesome to be with you guys and share the news and assimilate and all that good stuff. But I find, that their downers, they're all over the place. They got these downers here and there. Down this, down that, down over there, upside down cake. Can I get a slice, please? I like that one. But the Democrats are still attempting to sell that bag of goods, and it's filled with rotten fruit. Can you smell it? Can you smell the rotten fruit of the bag? I can smell the little rotten fruit. But the jig is up, it's almost like when you're watching that incredibly bad movie. You sometimes you go watch those movies and you don't know what you're going to get. It's like a box of chocolates, right? Forrest Gump all over again. Life is like a box of chocolates. Never know what you're going to get. And you go in there and you watch the movie. You got all hyped up to see the movie with all your buddies. You just can't wait. And now here you are. You're in movie theater number 1. And an hour and 20 minutes later, you're fighting for your life to survive till the end. But you want to finish the movie because you paid your $8. Oh, fumbles. That's, I'm sorry, $16. I'm like living in the 90s. Well, in contrast to today, I'd rather be living in the 90s if you think about it. For the simple fact, in the 90s, there were no face mask mandates. That's a good one. Democrats, who's still pushing that garbage. The Republicans and the Democrats party, that they were pretty closely aligned. Thus, the term rhino, R-I-N-O, or dino. Was there ever dinos? I guess that never took, right? Dino for the Democrats. I mean, they looked the same back then. They both were always looking for an opportunity to shaft the American people, every one of us from Washington, D.C., right? You know that, right? They slowly and progressively enriched themselves while the rest of America is bleeding out into the Pacific and the Atlantic Oceans. You know that, right? I'm going to tell you the truth. They oversaw the economic decline in the middle class. Not President Donald Trump. It's not his fault. That is something truly to ponder as you go to vote this year at the polls, which I recommend everyone to go out and vote. It's imperative to get the sunlight in your eyes, feel it on your skin, be excited about life. Yes? They oversaw the economic decline of the middle class. Not President Donald Trump. It's not his fault. This has been going on for 40 years, and you look at the news, and the only thing that's changed is the anchor in the seat. They get old, they move another leftist or someone who is thinking about destroying the country, pulling at that nice, beautiful woven sweater that the cat, he just can't help it. He see the string, see the shadow on the wall. He's trying to pounce at the shadow at first, and he turns his attention to the sweater and starts to pull it apart. They're trying to pull America apart, and it's our responsibility to save it. You know, you're taking incoming, the arrows, like the Indians. I remember those cartoons and also the movies back in the day when they had the Indians and there were the cowboys. The cowboy would have these long cone type hats, and you knew when they were in trouble when an arrow would come through the top of the hat and the cowboy looks up like, oh, in terror. That meant bad juju for him. But for us, it'll be great juju because that is the end of the show for this week. It has been great for you guys to join me on the Midweek Review. I will see you guys next week, same time. I would say same bat channel, but I guess that is another show. You guys all out there in the internet world, have a great, great evening. See you next week.